lot later than I normally would be, but you know what? Dug it. Singing out with the homies at the bar for a night. So as I can do these whenever I want, I don't have a set schedule for any of this shit. I got no set schedule, so who cares? There we go. Sweet, as long as we're good. Cool. Oh, here. Alright. Two split screen, so we don't have to worry about bullshit. Go. Cool. Sweet. Play some music and stuff. You know, usual stuff. Man. Sticking out with one of the old high school friends at the bar for a night. Honestly, you know, it's kind of surprising to see, you know, the karaoke bar I go to when it's not doing karaoke, but just being, like, slow as shit. In the sense that it's just like, you know, there's nothing going on, basically. Like, I mean, there's a few people there and people hanging out and doing their thing, but it's just like, you know, not much, like, vibes, you know, it's just like kind of people there just doing their thing. So it's, you know, one of those interesting little things where it's just like, you know, it's like, you go to a place where you usually, you know, see a totally different environment, but now it's just like, whoa. And I was like, hey, you know, I've been for a little bit tonight, and, you know, kind of, you know, getting more acquainted, seeing how everyone's doing, all that shit. So it's been a while, you know, doing, you know, or hanging out with my friend Brian and stuff, but, man, honestly, like, actually, I kind of found out a lot about, like, his general life. I was like, what? I'm just like, this is what you gotta deal with right now? Holy fuck. Like, I thought, like, at least, you know, considering his predicament, I thought there was, like, you know, something a little better than what he's got going on right now. I'm just like, holy shit, dude. I mean, I won't, like, get in all deets, but it's just like, I mean, I feel bad for him, dude. It's like, holy shit. Definitely needs, like, you know, a little bit of a homie to kind of help kind of clutch up a little bit, in a sense, I feel like, you know, so kind of want to, you know, like, you know, be in that situation, because, you know, I've known him for a long time. I mean, it's been a while since I've, like, last, you know, really connected with him and shit, so it's like, fuck, dude, I mean, you know, what's all been going on, man? It's like, it's holy shit. It's fucking wild, you know, like, some of the things that I've, you know, he's been telling me about, like, you know, what his situation, because he's been, like, in an RV and stuff lately, and it's like, what? And you're, like, and you're living there with 3 different people? It's like, fuck, man. Like, holy shit. That's wild. Like, I mean, like, I can't even, like, I can imagine living in an RV on your own as just one person, like, being like, alright, you know, you're kind of making things work and adapting a little bit and figuring things out, you know, but, like, with 3 different people, that's, like, another fucking ball game right there. That's another ball of wax. It's wild to me, honestly. It's like, shit.
Yeah, if you see these guys for a while, you might want to be careful about leaving stuff out, valuables like the gun mainly.
Well, yeah, no, like, yeah, I mean, from, you know, like, you know, from who they are, like, they're not the fucking, you know, people that are going to be doing shit. Like, they're definitely not those type of people. Like, they're, you know.
I'm just saying, don't make it obvious, you know.
No shit. No, I get you. Yeah. But, like, I'm just saying, like, yeah, obviously, yeah, because, like I'm saying, they're not those type of people, like, they were telling me tonight, like, yeah, there's been times where we got no money, and yeah, we'll go to the store and, like, you know, take food and stuff, and I'm like, you know, as a coworker at retail, like, that's something that I don't see, quote unquote, like, to a certain extent, when it comes to just, like, food and stuff like that specifically, like, you know, that's a necessity, like, you need that to live. Like, you know, so, yeah, like, I'm not gonna give a shit if somebody's taking, like, $30 worth of, like, you know, food for my deli or some shit. I just can't really bring myself to care. That's a necessity people need. If they can't afford it, and they're starving, then fuck. I mean, yeah, I ain't gonna blame it. I do the same thing, you know? So it's like, it's not like something they're obviously proud of, but it's just something that they have to do because it's kind of a necessity, and I totally get it. I was even telling them if they come up to my workplace every now and then, and if they only have a couple bucks, I'll hook them up. Like, I've told them that, so, and they, if anything, they're the people that just want to, like, they don't really want to, like, obviously try to, like, beg, so to speak, but they, they'll take a helping hand if it's offered and try to, like, pay it back in some way, so, because I've, hung out with them at the karaoke bar a few nights.
It's smart to not leave things sitting around.
Well, no, I get what you mean on that. No shit, obviously, yeah. Like, I'm not gonna have my rifle hanging out here, obviously, and shit. Or, I'll have it in my room and keep my room closed like I usually do when I'm not here anyway. Just so Zukov don't go fucking rummaging and raiding my room, and eating out of the trash bag or some shit. So, I just do it for the virtue of him anyway, so... like, either way, like, the more specific, valuable shit ain't gonna be, out and around. Like, I'll kind of tidy up at least enough, to where, shit that they don't need to see ain't there. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't, it's one of those things where I trust them enough, I know who they are, and, I want to help them out a little bit. Because, they're the type of people that, will pay that type of shit back and have to me to some extent as well already, and, just want to, like, it's kind of like, they will turn the favor, but they just want to, like, they just kind of need the favor. It's like a favor for a favor type of thing, basically. Scratch my back, I scratch yours type of situation. And considering who they are, it's like, I trust them. And I think they're, chill enough, and, I trust their word. Because especially with one of them, my friend Brian, like, I've known him since high school. In fact, I'm pretty sure since middle school, honestly. Like, I'm pretty sure if him and I have had classes in middle school before. So it's like, maybe we weren't, like, connected or knew each other then yet. But, we fucking, we definitely go back. So it's like, I trust him enough. And he's, if anything, like, gotten more of a, more humble in a sense, in the sense of, like, he's... got the world experience, like we all do. We all have been humbled by reality fucking on us, and shitting down our throat, basically. So it's like, I mean, we just all have our own experience on how that happens and how we deal with it, It's like, and sometimes we just need that extra hand. And, he's just in that situation himself. I mean, I've been in that situation. Plenty of my friends been in that situation, helped them out and stuff. So it's like, we all find ourselves in that predicament. I mean, that's why, for me, mutual aid is kind of an important idea, at least, because helping each other out, even if we're all struggling, it makes our struggle less severe, and it makes it at least a little bit better for all of us, in a way. Like, I mean, because at least, hey, we got each other, so to speak. We're figuring shit out. I mean, that's what matters the most. I mean, if anything, that's, like, what really, truly does help build a community, it's because of shit like this. And, on my way back home, I was just kind of thinking about this a little bit, because, like, I mean, none of them are, like, really politically savvy at all, to be frank. I am, but, and, like, a lot of the consequences of our fucking system is, like, I see the reflection of that in my own fucking life, with my own friends, with people I hang out with, with the people I've gotten to know, like, and shit, and to... like, at least have understanding to help, like, regurgitate, the issues and the problems, for, the layman to understand, to be able to, like, hey, if an average Joe Schmo like me can get this shit, then you can too, it's like, I'm a little more savvy about it, but, I know how I know how we all talk. So I can, fucking, translate that shit, type of shit. Because at the end of the day, when it comes down to, like, making sure that our lives are better, and, trying to, make sure that, like, us and our own kin and, our friends and our community are, well off, like, we all understand this fucking language. So it's just about regurgitating, and, like, phrasing, things in a way that for people to truly get. Because people, they get this shit. Like, if you just, like, talk to people and shit, they'll understand it, for sure. It's just that they don't get the political savviness of it all, even if we do, and if that's the case, then so be it. I mean, if anything, that's just more of a challenge for someone like me, or you, or anyone else, that might be more savvy to, tap into them more. Like, use the contact theory, use an ability to, tap them in, as much as you've been tapped. Well, maybe not as much, but, you can use that ability to tap into them just as much as you've been tapped into to realize this shit. So it's one of those things where it could spread, it's like in more of this mutual aid and communal, like, connection with people, I think really does, like, as small and really as insignificant as it seems, like, it's fucking way more impactful than people realize. Like, it just is that much more fucking impactful. And that's why I've been trying to branch myself out there more, because, like, fucking real world's brutal. And everyone's feeling it. All of us. Every fucking person. Like, I got some fucking privilege having property that I own. But, like, it's like, I'm suffering just as much as every other motherfucker. Like, a lot of these, like, a lot of my friends, a lot of people I meet and shit, like, they miss the opportunity that when it comes to, the luck and the privilege that, like, my parents had. Or, like, or their parents even had. But lost it. Luckily, I didn't yet. I mean, but maybe it will. Maybe it can. Maybe it can be lost. Maybe it will be taken away. I don't fucking know. Hey, what's up? What's up, buddy? Making little noises over there? Oh, you're tilting your little head. You're so cute. Goofball. Right here, I'm gonna pull up a song. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Where is it? No, not that one. It ain't that. It's not that either. That ain't it. Yo, Zooks, what's up? What are you moaning over there for? Oh. What's up, doggo? Oh, there it is. Sweet. But yeah, just kind of been, some stuff I've been pondering a little bit. Another thing I've been pondering is just like, I mean, well, I guess it's mainly the same thing, but just like kind of another element of it is, I guess in a way, like kind of people's awareness, some of these things, which ties into this whole thing, I guess. Because like a lot of people I talk to, especially when like they're struggling and shit, like a lot of them don't inherently totally, I guess, realize like, how like the system really is enabling a lot of their fucking problems, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like, when it comes to inflation, when it comes to like stagnant wages, all these things, like, I mean, in a way, it's like these people understand it to a degree, realizing that like they ain't getting like a fair shake, but don't totally like realize what and why that's the case. And and I guess in a way I'm kind of like, seeing an opportunity, to at least like kind of tap in, to some friends, when it comes to this type of shit, because like I got my close core group of friends, and they know my spiel. I've talked to them all the time about that shit. But like when it comes to like other people that, I'm friends with but haven't really like gotten, close connected with as in the same level that like with my core group of friends, it at least definitely expands the opportunity and challenges my own like kind of licks a little bit when it comes to, talking about these issues. Which, speaking of which, actually, when it comes to the UAW right here, like, they actually finally, initially started with Ford, but they finally got some agreements and a ratification for the contract with Ford, and then, like, a day or two later, Stellantis and GM conceded to the contract as well. So, as it stands now, these fucking strikes, I think, have been successful and have wrapped up, from what I understand. And if that's the case, then it's some great, excellent fucking news when it comes to, like, people actualizing their power that they really have. And, and those type of things need to be, amplified. And if anything, like, I mean, not a lot of people totally realize that type of shit. And, it's why, especially when it comes to labor and unions and things like that, I'm a fucking gun-ho son of a bitch about talking about that shit, because, like, even if people aren't understanding of the theory and things like that, they get what the fuck it means a little bit. At least, to a degree. Whether it's, like, via the propaganda or, like, generally realizing what it is, or a mixture of both, or being neutral to it, they kind of realize what it is. It just takes the right voice to persuade them in the positive direction of what that can lead to. And sometimes it takes work. Like, I know plenty of people that have been pretty, like, fairly, maybe not anti-union, but very critical of them, just because of very specific things. And some of it's out of my, like, knowledge, and some of it is. And, like, at the end of the day, it's like, well, it's not really inherently you that fucks you over on that shit. Like, some of it might be, like, our tax system, some of it might be, like our healthcare, some of it might be other aspects, but, like, what the union at least, puts forth is at least, trying to at least, get the best case scenario of what that is. And sometimes it doesn't work out all the way. I mean, it was honestly, unfortunately, especially for my local, because they're not exactly the most strongest motherfuckers out there. I mean, I guess, like, for Oregon, like, it makes the biggest amount of noise, so to speak. Like, they make a lot of noise, but a lot of it is kind of bullshit, to be fucking frank. I mean, a lot of it isn't really, like, over anything that's, like, meritable or, like, truly strongly worthy of giving a fuck to fight for. Like, there are just some things that, like, I think our union just needs to, like, just put their funds and investments into something that's just way more productive. Like, there's a lot of aspects about leadership within the local union that are just not adequate at all. And there's not really much that the rank and file or even shop stewards are represented. And there's not really too much that people, like, in those ranks can really do much about it, outside of try to, like, force an election on it or something. But, I mean, if anything, our union suffers with the fact that it is bureaucratic as fuck. Honestly, I think a lot of it comes to that, at least for our local union. It's due to the fact that we're overly bureaucratic over stupid shit. Like, I mean, bureaucracy is, not understanding, and, there's obviously, like, a factor where you kind of need it. I mean, it's just kind of a part of how things work. But, holy shit, we are fucking, we being the local union at least, when it comes to leadership, just are fucking overtly bureaucratic to the point it doesn't make sense. And it definitely needs to change, and I don't know if it's going to. I mean, and the thing is, it's just one local. I mean, one local union versus, like, unions across the board means fucking nothing. Like, you're gonna have local unions that are gonna be kind of shitty, for sure. But, there's, like, when it comes to the, extrapolation of it all, it's just an exception to the rule for the most part. And, some of these locals are gonna be, pretty big. Like, my local union is in, like, 4 different states: Oregon, Washington, Idaho, and fucking Wyoming. So, like, we're a huge local, and if anything, I'd argue too big. Like, for being a local 555 union, we are fucking huge. We are ridiculously big. Like, honestly, I don't know why we're so fucking huge. Like, I mean, there was, like, a recent thing where, like, our local union joined up with, like, another UFCW local. It was, like, 163A local union for, like, Jackson, Wyoming, and Idaho. And they morphed with us. And it's like, well, I mean, at that point, why? Like, I mean, it's just like, I mean, it makes sense to have a more localized, like, union representation for specific areas like that. Because, like, the local specific things around here in Oregon are going to be totally different than fucking Wyoming or Idaho or even Washington. So, like, I mean, I can at least get Oregon and Washington, you know, like, the same local union representing shops in those states. But, like, for Idaho and Wyoming, that don't really make sense. Like, it seems like, you know, your britches are a little too big, you know, for the legs that you're trying to put in those britches. So, you know, the britch is too big. Like, it just, like, it needs, it's just, it makes things overly bureaucratic, like I said. This bureaucracy is a fucking problem, if I think of our local union, and, like, I think creates too much of, like, a conflict of interest when it comes to different areas and different spokespeople and different higher-ups that are trying to do different shit. And it creates, like, a stagnation, and nothing really gets done. And that's a problem. And unions can't suffer from that shit. And sometimes it doesn't take companies or corporations or the government necessarily to fuck unions over. Sometimes, like, the bureaucracy of the union itself can sabotage itself. And I think for Local 5-5, that might honestly be the case. Like, where it's not intentionally doing so, but it kind of unintentionally is fucking itself over with the overly bureaucratic, you know, aspect of it. And it's just, you know, it's just one of those, you know, problems, honestly. It's why I kind of, not really with the union, so to speak, but at least, you know, with the workplace I'm in, I kind of want it out. Like, I mean, it's not the union necessarily, it's just the fucking workplace and the fact that it doesn't do the greatest at representing everybody. And I know there's a lot of other factors outside the bureaucracy, like there's staffing problems when it comes to having, like, you know, other people that help representatives and shopsters and shit. Like, that's always an issue, you know, where that can never be kept up on. Like, there's a lot of there's a lot of problems, you know, that it's not entirely in the union's control, for sure, but it doesn't help. Like, this bureaucracy bullshit that it does, you know, exacerbates those problems, and that doesn't help anything or anybody. It makes things worse. The reason why I have a UAW strike sign right here versus the UFCW one. Because, like, I have partaken, you know, of the UFCW Local 5-5 when they were striking with Croker and Fred Meyer for a little bit. But there wasn't as much of this type of shit around. You know, and main reason is because, like, a lot of the funds in bureaucracy doesn't really fund shit like that as much. Like, they've been kind of making more teeth lately for themselves when it comes to shit like this, but nowhere near enough. It's basically like, you know, lagging behind, like some grandpa, like, you know, we're there, I tell you. You know, just there to, like, you know, yammer on about the old days or some shit. And it's like, yo, Gramps, like, I mean, you gotta catch up a little bit. Like, fuck, dude. It's like, we get it, but, like, are you gonna do something? You too old for it? It's like, what the fuck? The thing is, like, the UFCW entirely, like, as a national union is actually pretty okay. It's actually decent, but some of the locals aren't. I mean, unfortunately, and I think, you know, that represents, I think, you know, a lot of the old guard status quo style, like, maintain the current system type of unions, which are mostly in tandem with the AFL-CIO, which the UFCW, being one of the biggest unions in the AFL-CIO, are kind of representative of. So, I mean, you know, the union I'm part of, it kind of represents kind of the old guard that is a lot more like social democratic / liberal leaning with the union organization and praxis versus the more radical syndicalist / like trade unionists, like, you know, bent, you know, when it comes to it. Like, they're not, you know, like a radical leftist, so to speak, in comparison to, like, you know, how they operate. Especially when it comes to the history of how unions were a thing in the first place. Because unions and collective bargaining and labor first initiated and first started because of literal diehard socialists, diehard communists, anarchists, and people like this. Like, those type of people were the ones who helped get unions to exist in the first place. So it's like, I mean, unions are inherently a far left radical idea, you know, from its concept, from how it started. And, you know, it's like, and it has been neutered in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to more, you know, like 20th century era modern unions from, like, the 1950s onwards. Like, especially after the 80s. And the UFCW is certainly no exception. It's got a long history. And in fact, a lot of its early history is actually fairly fucking radical. But, like, I mean, with most unions, if anything, like any old guard union has a strong radical history to it. But, I mean, at this point, that shit's been neutered. It's an old dog now and don't got that same spunk anymore. Which is unfortunate. Instead of being like the nonconformists, they all become chicka shit conformists. Can't change things too radically. Which is disappointing. Because there's like, you know, such a fucking energy for it. And it's growing. I mean, I'm not saying this as like, you know, a negative, by the way. Like, what I'm talking about is changing. Like, I mean, a lot of this radical bent about labor, especially, has, you know, whether people realize this or not, has been growing more and more. I mean, like, because I've talked directly, especially with these guys, with the UAW out here in Oregon. I've talked to these people. I've talked to, like, you know, a lot of these, you know, people on the picket line before, and I got a fucking stream with this shit, for fuck's sake. Like, and I'm directly talking with them, and hearing what they have to say, and at the end of the day, like, literally, like, any other son of a bitch out there, it's always like, hey, we're just trying to look out for, you know, ourselves and, you know, our coworkers and everyone else besides, because we just want our fair shake, and we want everyone else to have theirs too. Like, you know, we don't deserve to, like, get fucked over and, like, have inadequate wages, working conditions, etc., you know, and let these, you know, fat cats, you know, rob us, basically. Like, it's always the same fucking position every fucking time. And at the end of the day, maybe not every single one of these people get this shit, like, when it comes to the root as to why this is the case. But maybe some of them don't necessarily care too much. Like, they just want to make sure that, you know, they're alright, you know, when it comes to being a worker, like anyone else. Like me, like, you know, like anyone in part of the underclass. And, you know, it's, you know, and, like, I mean, I respect and totally get it. Like, if anything, honestly, if it wasn't for people like me, I mean, like, I don't think, you know, these type of people would be able to tap into this type of action, to be honest. Because it takes, you know, people that kind of get the gumption a little bit to really push that shit forward. Much as it seems dorky to be like a, you know, political nerd or whatever the fuck, because it certainly is dorky as shit. I ain't gonna deny that. But, I mean, fuck. I mean, especially for someone like me, I mean, for fuck's sake, look at me. I'm like, you know, fucking punk. I got pins and patches and whatever the fuck. Wearing Millions of Dead Cops fucking t-shirt and shit. I mean, it's like, bruh. Like, I mean, you know, I'm like the one dude that doesn't look like, I'm like the farthest, you know, when it comes to like a political theorist. But, I mean, shit, it takes people like me to fucking figure shit out a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, and sometimes it's smaller voices like me, and sometimes they're very big, influential ones. Even people that have transcended time, like, you know, Christopher Hitchens, or like George Carlin, etc., or like Bill Hicks, you know, like, or just naming some really big names. You know what I mean? There's people that are still alive right now that are, you know, have tapped into shit a little bit, like Bill Burr, or like Jon Stewart. You know, there's all sorts of people out there. But, like, it takes those type of people, whether on, like, you know, the small side of things, like someone like me, or like someone who's influential, like a Jon Stewart or like a George Carlin. I mean, George Carlin literally transcends time, basically, when it comes to a lot of his ideas and his food for thought, when it comes to a lot of his bits and shit. He transcends that. And there's a lot of people like that. And there's a lot of, you know, like, need, really, when it comes to those type of people, to really, like, you know, have their voices heard. Because it's absolutely necessary. Because if not, I mean, honestly, our democracy would have been dead a long time ago. I mean, you know, like, I mean, if anything, I guess that's like one of the virtues of, like, you know, having our ability to at least have some basic protection of freedom of expression here in the United States is being able to at least, as small as it might be, like, at least some sort of a rebellious, you know, side, you know, in our society for that. You know, for people like me to fit in. I mean, you know, granted, I'm pretty sure, like, our entire capitalistic system has found a way to tap into that and neuter people like me, but, I mean, it doesn't really do that great of a job. I'm just gonna put that right out there. Because, like, there's definitely a lot of rebellious actions and things that I've done that I'm sure shit ain't gonna say. So, you know, it's like, you know, just kind of wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know, it's like, I've definitely taken my rebellious acts before, because guess what? The system can't fucking contain shit like that. As much as it wants to try to, it fucking can't, and it won't. Because multiple times, including very recently, like, I mean, shit is boiled over to where it can't contain things. Especially whether as, like, an individual or broadly. So, it's, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, the system could try. A lot of our elements of the established, you know, order of things, you know, tries to, like, you know, neuter and gut a lot of, you know, this nonconformist, angsty nature about, you know, being against, you know, like, the current status quo because of, like, how it has, you know, fucked everyone over, you know, so much. Like, I mean, it's something that they can't exactly just, like, neuter as much anymore. They had like, during the 90s and 2000s, they did, especially during the 2000s. After 9/11, they mean the establishment, like the corporate oligarchy, you know, the politician, lobbyists, these people. I'm not saying they as, like, some sort of weird extra conspiratorial thing. You know, just putting that fucking out there. And when it comes to that, it's like they've had a strong grip, you know, to be able to neuter a lot of this type of fucking energy. As much as it will still propping itself out. Like, I mean, like, there was a literal riot that, you know, Rage Against the Machine didn't start, but the LAPD did when it came to the DNC back in 2000, you know, prior to the full-on general election and shit. You know, so it's like, I mean, there's been times, you know, where, like, this angst has boiled over, even at times where it's strongly neutered that shit. Because it's something that really can't be contained. You know, it, like, this nonconformist, like, you know, energy to change things, like, that is something that just cannot be contained. There's always a need or a sense, you know, to try to, like, progress and change things a little bit. Like, that's just inherent, you know, to, like, really just a species. I mean, or really, if you really want to take it even further, life needs to adapt and change in order to continue to, well, live. Like, what do you think adaptation to your environment's about? You know, it's like, if you really want to expand it that far, I mean, it's, like, inherent, you know, to, like, how life is. Like, I mean, it's all about adapting and changing, you know, to the environment and to your circumstances. And humanity is no fucking exception. If anything, we express that the most. So it's like, to try to, like, stagnate that and withhold that and try to, like, stop that in ourselves and try to, like, prevent that in some way, if anything, it's just detrimental to us. It's like, we need the change. Like, it's something that we fucking require. We, like, we yearn for it. Like, I mean, you know, it's like, and maybe, you know, there are, like, a lot of people that overtly call themselves more, like, nonconformists or, like, anarchists or shit like that, that might have, maybe they've just kind of tapped into that idea a little more and realized that, yeah, we need to adapt, and in order to do so, we can't continue to maintain the current status quo. We have to change, you know, some aspects about it. And that's probably why some people yearn or bend towards, you know, those type of ideas. Not a lot of people, but, you know, I think, you know, to some extent, especially on the left progressive side of things, I think that's probably why. Because there's just that yearning for it. I mean, because, like, it is, like, an element about, like, how we adapt and progress as just a species. We've always have done this. It's just, it's inherent to us. I mean, it's like, you can't really take that away. Where'd he go? He's probably around the corner. Oh, goofy dog. But yeah. Enough about my little ponderance. Kind of pretty much said, yeah, I think, you know, all I need to say on it. Because, you know, my little thoughts about it. Would think just like hanging out with some friends, you know, at the bar for a night would, you know, make me ponder and think, you know, so much for this evening. And get a little philosophical. But you know what, you know, hey, you know, sometimes we just need a night to just like, you know, ponder. Especially, you know, stuff that, you know, like, really impacts people a lot. Especially if, you know, like I said, you know, if they don't really totally realize it. Because, you know, like, when it comes to my friends, you know, like, especially after what I've found out, like, with them living in RV and everything, it's just like, fuck, like, holy shit, dude. Like, you know, I know, like, how bad, like, it is for a lot of people and shit when it comes to our current system, but holy fucking shit, dude. It, like, when it kind of hits you in the face, it kind of does. Where it's like, I mean, people really are in, like, a situation where it's like, I mean, it really is kind of like, you know, we have to do the crime and property / like, you know, like, you know, risk, you know, to basically fuck ourselves over even more because of our current system. Especially when it comes to, like, law enforcement and stuff, because of these aspects. Like, there's this risk of, like, you know, just, like, ruining yourself just because you have to try to survive. It's, like, it's psychotic. Which it kind of goes again, you know, like, to the whole idea that, you know, we kind of yearn for a change, and especially when it, you know, there's elements about our environment that are detrimental to us. Like, yeah, we're gonna yearn and want, like, a change, you know, away from that. We want something that is, like, better suited for our needs, like, obviously. And our current system, like I said, is just hell-bent, you know, pretty much, you know, maintaining how it is and not advocating that in any way. Which, that is a whole nother fucking, like, just, like, tangent of insanity, basically. Especially with, you know, like, when it comes to healthcare, wages, all these things. I mean, it's just like a whole nother fucking, like, the long ass, like, fucking convo. Here. Let's see what else is going on for 2 different night. Well, I see. Kind of still what I need to say. So, what are little fun things happen for even? There's, like, you know, a few little things about, like, Mitt Romney dropping out. Or, not Mitt Romney, Jesus Christ, fucking Mike Pence. How did I fucking get those two mixed up? What the fuck? Well, they're about as dorky, awkward, and boring. You know, so, you know... Oh my god, you know what? Did my brain honestly just realize something? Is Mike Pence basically the Mitt Romney of, like... of this, like, kind of cycle, almost? Well, not really, I guess, but... at least when it comes to being, like, a dork-ass, awkward little fuckwad. Because, like... I mean, even when I wasn't politically aware, like, me and my friends made fun of Mitt Romney so much because of how much of a nerd he was and how much of a dork he was. Like, what was it? Like, freshman year? Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was about freshman year in high school. So I was like, yeah, because I remember me and my friends actually, like, did a few prank calls, you know, pretending to be, like, Mitt Romney, like, campaign phone call dipshits or whatever. Like, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so it was around my freshman year and basically when this was going on. So, yeah, like, yeah, I was not politically aware at that point. Yeah, not yet, at least. So it was around, like, junior or senior when I started kind of getting, like, aware about politics a little bit. More so my senior, but... dude, freshman year, I didn't give a fuck about politics or anything like that. I just knew that Mitt Romney was a dork and a fucking moron and just a nerd. So I just made fun of him. Like, I mean, it was so easy. I even remember distinctively what I nicknamed him too. I just called him CD-ROM, or wait, what was it? Baseball Mitt CD-ROM kneecap. It was retarded. Honestly, thinking about it, it's kind of cringe. baseball mitt CD-ROM kneecap. Like, goddamn, that is actually kind of cringe. But you know what? It was literally meant to make fun of him and how cringy he was. So I think it balances out. Maybe that's just like my bias, you know, of just like originating it, but whatever. I don't care. Like, I mean, he was just such a nerd and such a dork. He was never likable. Even to, like, you know, some apolitical dork ball like me back as a kid. Like, nope. Ugh. But at least for Mike Pence, like, yeah, he's pretty much the same way. Like, he's easily, you know, able to be made fun of. He's a dork. He's a fucking weird, like, hyper-religious nutter. Just like, you know, Romney. So, yeah. I mean, honestly, kind of is. I didn't realize my brain fucking up a little bit actually kind of gave me this realization. You know what? I'm not going to even complain about that one. Shit. Here. Let's see what it's going for, too. Man, it's not Monday yet, so there's like fucking nothing. Because, like, you know, the rules hasn't decided to, like, you know, prop up a shit. Wait, hold on. I might find something. What was this? It's a community post, but what does it say? In Maine, buying sex is illegal, but thanks to a new law passed this week, selling sex will be partially decriminalized. Based? Intended to protect sex workers and victims of trafficking, but some sex workers say the new law actually does more harm than good and can even lead to a black market. So, not based? Well, it's a community post, so what's the comment say? It doesn't even really give a link or anything. It just talk it being more focused about. Okay, whatever, that didn't say anything. Let's go for no one's even saying any details about it. The same level of stupidity and stupidity. Imagine you own a grocery store legally, but those who buy groceries from you are penalized. What exactly does it say about your right to run a business? So is the law, like, partially decriminalizing because, like, the sex workers themselves are not being punished? Okay, maybe that comment actually might have helped maybe understand it. So is the law, like, saying that the sex workers themselves / like people that may or may not be trafficked aren't going to be penalized, but the people that potentially purchase their services will? That seems a little contradictory in a way. It's like either no one should be punished or like everyone should, and I don't think anyone should, because sex work is work in my opinion. I mean, it's labor just like any other form of it. So it's like, I mean, you know, I don't know, like, it's just, so for me it's like I think it should at least just be legal or at least across the board decriminalized. But when it comes to, like, you know, the whole sex trafficking aspect of things, obviously that should still be a crime. Like, I mean, that's kidnapping and eliciting, you know, like, it's basically slavery, essentially. So it's like, I mean, it's just that specifically for sex work. So it's that ain't cool. Fuck that shit. I mean, that should still be cracked down on. But the reason why that exists, though, is because we make the idea of, like, sex work illegal. So, I mean, if you want to tackle that issue, then having sex work be legal, or at least across the board decriminalized, just full stop, you know, then I think that would at least help with that a little bit. But I think it would help immensely if it was just full on legalized and you had an actual, like, regulation / regulatory process, you know, involved with it. Like, when it comes to a brothel, like, making sure, like, you know, the girls or the guys, you know, or, well, you know, I mean, to be fair, anybody that wants to, you know, be a sex worker at these brothels, you know, is tested, you know, is ensured their safety, like, you make sure there's strong security, stuff like that. Like, I mean, you know, I think that's an understandable thing, you know, especially when it comes to, like, you know, the law to enforce. Like, I think that should certainly be a thing. So I think, you know, just full on legalizing it and then having, like, an actual regulatory process and how it works will help minimize and eliminate a lot of these problems. So if it's like, if Maine basically just like decriminalizes but still penalizes the person that is still partaking in sex work, you still kind of are creating that black market. I mean, because, like, do you really, like, if anything, you're just kind of giving a carte blanche, to pimps, so to speak, that are doing the sex trafficking shit to just, like, get away with their fucking shit. Like, because there's no regulatory process. You're penalizing the potential consumers. Like, I mean, it's just bad across the board. That's, Maine, you fucked up a little bit. That's not, you fucked up. If I understand everything correctly, they fucked up. That's not cool. They messed up big time. Like, I mean, that just doesn't fucking make sense, dude. Like, who wrote that shit? Like, I mean, what the fuck? That just doesn't make sense. That really, honestly, it's just kind of dumb. I don't know why they decided, like, that was gonna help. Because like I said, if that's how I understand it and that's how they did it, then that just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. I don't get it. Is that supposed to like somehow fundamentally like help people? Because I don't think it's going to. I honestly think it might generally make it worse. I just think that might be the case. If that's the case, then fuck. Oh shit, there's a new John Oliver. Oh yeah, that's right. He uploads his stuff on Sundays. Hell yeah. It's on chocolate. Simply just chocolate. Is it about like child slavery and stuff like that? Is that what it's gonna be about? I have a strong feeling I already know what it's gonna be about. The immense corruption in like the slave market, basically, when it comes to like, chocolate production. Is I feel like I have a strong hunch about what this is gonna be about. That's just my opinion. Oh wow, YouTube decided to go full screen off the bat? Fuck yeah, dude. Yeah, YouTube is not being a bitch tonight. Sweet. Wait, what? Get back up there. Okay, that's all right. Wait, so what? Am I just not hearing it? Oh, it's low. That would explain it. What? What the fuck? You were working a minute ago, you asshole. Come on. It's even full power. Look at that. Full bar. Beaming with life. And it wants to be an idiot. Fuck you, Bluetooth. You know what? Here, we'll do a 1.25 just because why not?
Tonight concerns chocolate. The star of chocolate in Neapolitan ice cream. Nothing against vanilla and strawberries, just that one is a euphemism for boring sex and the other is fruit. And fruit is simply not dessert.
Oh, no. I disagree. No. John. No. Don't do that. Do not do that. Because, like, Tillamook ice cream, my G. You have not had some bomb ice cream until you had some Huckleberry ice cream, Marionberry, like blackberry raspberry ice cream. Dude, the ice cream with fruit slaps, son. Strawberry ice cream with strawberry chunks, bitch. Do not tell me that fruit does not equal dessert, you son of a bitch. I will go to war. I will declare war on your country. Personally. I'll fight the SAS myself, bitch. You're a bunch of Britbongers. I don't give a fuck. No, fuck this shit. Nah, I disagree with it. Fuck that. This is like a declaration of war as far as I give a shit. John, you're on my list. You're on the list. The rest of this video... You got Everest to hike now, son. Fucking Everest. So you got Mount Everest to fucking climb in order to get off my list. So this video better be good.
Chocolate is the greatest. Just watch as this baby gets a first taste of it.
Oh, no. Okay, one more. Really big one. Ready? Are you ready?
Okay, you know what? I dig it. Dude, that baby is vibing. Dude, that baby just gets a little bit of chocolate and it's like, oh shit! Fuck yeah, bro! Dude, I feel this vibe. Like, look, chocolate is amazing. Like, I'm never going to fucking dog on some chocolate, okay? I'll never dog on that. Like, oh my god, look at his face, dude. Holy shit, dude. That baby literally looked like he just ate some crack, bro. Dude, he had chocolate for the first time and that's his look. Oh, yeah, dude. Dude, I feel this. I feel this. Dude, like, I feel this right here. Dude, this baby is living the dream right now. Having just some bare-ass chocolate, just being like, yeah. It's like, dude, like, I mean, when you get the flavor bomb in your mouth, like, like, this is the essence that we feel in our soul. Like, he's just expressing it in the most maximum capacity. Like, I mean, we can only yearn to express ourselves the way that this baby is right now. When it comes to just, like, that bomb of flavor that you just experienced for, like, that first time. It's like, I can't tell you how many times I have felt the way that this baby feels right now of that chocolate. I can't tell you how many times. It is a euphoric feeling of excellence. Like, I mean, nothing compares. Nothing compares.
Yeah, baby.
Oh my god, dude, he literally went, oh, dude. Yeah, we got it. We're playing that back. We're playing that back, dude. That baby literally went, oh. Yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Oh, dude, he even did like, bro, too much. Hold off. Pull back for a second, bro. Dude, like, dude, that baby was feeling it, son. Dude, that is probably the most euphoria that baby has ever felt in its little, like, 3 months of life. Like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah, baby, same.
Same,
and
true.
Same as that chocolate high, because I think we all know the rest of human experience is pretty much downhill from there.
Unfortunately.
Everybody loves chocolate. That is why we use it for everything from beauty products to sculptures to breakfast cereal. Although some arguably love it a little too much, like the host of the...
What, beauty products? What the fuck?
Cooking show.
There's a component, a substance in chocolate called phenylethylamine. And what that fancy word does is it slightly elevates your blood pressure and your heart rate. And they tell me that it's a sensation that's not unlike having an orgasm.
I'm pretty sure, like, eating chocolate is not the same as having an orgasm. I'm just gonna put that right out there. I'm pretty sure it's not. That seems pretty odd. I mean, dude, he has got the biggest shit-eating grin over that. Dude, he's, like, proud that he just said that. Dude. Dude, what the fuck? Okay, you know what? Whatever. I guess he just loves his chocolate. Like, he really loves chocolate. It's about the equivalent of having an orgasm, basically. You know what? I'm not even gonna try to take that away from him. I don't feel it. I'm not that intense about chocolate. I love chocolate, but I'm not that hardcore about it. So, you know what? Yeah, I'm not gonna take that away from him. He evidently is on, like, another plane of existence in comparison to me. So, he's, like, ascended when it comes to the idea of, like, how we should, like, look at chocolate. So, I don't know. He's tapped into something that I have not tapped into yet, so I'm not going to take that away.
I don't know. Maybe that's why people love chocolate so much. But anyway, let me get back to our step here.
Okay. First.
Let me get back to our step here, which I don't know what it is, but, you know. I'm pretty sure that guy is bricked up. I think our boy right here, I'm pretty sure he is boned up for some chocolate. Like, he's bricked. Like, he's got like a fucking anaconda going on down there, son.
A long, weird way to tell people that you've never had an orgasm. I can't believe there is a chemical that makes your brain horny and they named it phenylethylamine. That is not a sexy name. Erotisol, seductilust, dataceline, all of those.
Dataceline! Dataceline! Okay, who's the writer? Who's the writer? Because you know what? They deserve an extra raise on top of the raise they got with the contract. Like, erotisol, seductilist, and dataceline, bro. Fuck yeah, dude. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Unavailable. And just to be very clear, eating chocolate is nothing like having an orgasm, unless you count the fact that when boys do it, it is messier. But chocolate isn't just making people horny, it's also making a lot of money. Globally, it's a...
I need to sit on that one for a minute. Oh my god, messier. Fuck. Oof. Oof. That was just like a pot shot at all men right there. Dude, that was just a roast. Even to himself. That was a roast amongst all men right there. Fuck. I felt that. I felt that one. Oof.
$140 billion a year industry. And at this point, you might be sitting at home thinking, hold on, I've seen this show before. This feels like it's going to be one of those fun stories, but is it about to take a turn? I've got a jumbo bag of
yes, it is.
fun-sized Snickers that I'm going to be handing out to tiny Iron Man, Elsas and Luigis in around 48 hours. Are you going to make that weird for me?
Yes, he is. He absolutely is going to make that weird for all of us. He's going to make the fact that we're going to be handing out chocolate to a bunch of kids for Halloween. And a bunch of parents, taking the flashlights, their spotlights, being like, you're not gonna do anything, right? And all that shit. We're gonna have to be suffering for all that. And also, in the back of our mind, realizing how chocolate, basically, literally, funds a slave industry or something. Yeah, we're gonna have that right now. Yeah, that's what's going on.
Yes, I am. And also,
you admit it.
Gone by Halloween, and you know it. But the reason this is about to take a turn is, for all the money and happiness surrounding chocolate, there is one group that doesn't get to share in it, and that is the farmers who grow cocoa in the first place. The vast majority have never even tasted chocolate, and that is something that reporters and documentarians love to try and remedy on camera, and perhaps not as patronisingly as this.
These farmers have been growing beans for decades. They're about to get their first taste of chocolate. You have never...
And they're the ones who, farm the cocoa beans and shit. If anyone should get the first dibs on the chocolate, it should unironically be the farmers that harvest the cocoa beans. I'm pretty sure they get first dibs as far as I give a fuck. I'll take, the scraps. I don't give a shit. I'm just a white boy American consumer pig. I'll take the scraps. I don't give a fuck. These guys deserve the first dibs when it comes to the chocolate, okay? They deserve, the freshest, richest chocolate that they've harvested themselves with their fucking hands. With their blood, sweat, and tears. They deserve to have the dibs. They get first dibs as far as I give a shit. And it takes a CNN news reporter for these people to have their first taste of what they harvest. That's fucked, okay? I'm saying that right now, that's fucked.
Tried chocolate. No.
It's good to eat. Well, no shit, of course it's awesome. Chocolate is amazing. And that's our boy right here, our old friend right here, he has not had chocolate ever in his fucking life, and I don't even know how old he was in this, but probably, in his 50s or 60s or some shit, and our G was unable to have chocolate in his life up until then? Dude, what in the fuck? They deserve the first fucking dibs, bro. This is bullshit. I'm mad for them, damn it.
That is your cocoa.
Well.
Yeah, I imagine it is. He harvested the cocoa, and he's like, this is good to eat. It's yeah, your labor made that. And you never got a chance to ever eat that before? What the fuck? That's... We're off to a great start, are we?
To those who thought that I'm the most annoying version of a loud man on TV with a British accent, looks like you owe me an apology. Because that is pretty condescending right there. Attention, former subjects. We noticed that you've not...
Well, look. Hey, John Oliver, that title goes to Piers Morgan. He is the most insufferable, loudmouth fucking Brit that has ever existed. John Oliver, you will never, ever be in the, like, top 100 when it comes to, like, you know, that list, okay? Like, cause thing is, you're not even Brit, okay? John, you might got your hot takes every now and then, especially if that fruit ain't a dessert thing. I got my eye on you on that one. But, like, when it comes to everything else, it's like, you're basically an honorary American. Realistically, in your soul, you're American, brother. You're an American red, white, and blue patriot, I tell you what, son. Like, I mean, you know, like, you live here, for fuck's sake. Like, where are you? L.A.? Hollywood? You live in the Beverly Hills, for fuck's sake. That's probably where you live, okay? I don't know exactly where you live, but I'm pretty sure that's probably where. Okay, somewhere in L.A. Probably one of the more case American. You're pretty much an American, for fuck's sake. It's like, yeah, you're technically born in England, but you know what? There's a lot of Americans that were born in England. But guess what? They became Americans. So, yeah, honorary American. That's who he is. So, we don't even qualify for the list. So, yeah. Like I said, that title goes to Piers Morgan because he's the most annoying, loudmouth piece of fucking British shit that has ever existed.
The fruits of your interminable toil, so allow me to present you with a generous gift of a single Kit Kat. That is your cocoa! And the reason most farmers haven't tried chocolate before is they can't afford it. More than 60% of cocoa comes from just two West African countries, Ivory Coast and Ghana. And researchers have found that in those places, between 73 and 90% of cocoa farmers do not earn a living income.
It's as if it's literal wage slavery, but to the extreme. It's like it's literal slavery, but with extra steps, basically. Shocker. Just kind of like what I said from earlier. Go figure.
30 to 58% earning below the World Bank's extreme poverty line. And there's something a bit weird about a product
Over half of
synonymous
them?
for spreading joy and giving babies what's basically a cocaine rush, abandoning those who grow its key ingredient to grinding poverty. Because even if you had a sense that cocoa production had issues, the truth is, from the land it's grown on to the working conditions of those who harvest it, it is worse than you may realise. So given that, as we prepare for our annual tradition of stuffing as much of it in our faces as humanly possible, tonight, let's talk about chocolate. And let's start with the fact that cocoa is mostly grown on very small family-run plots. There are about 500,000 of them in Ivory Coast and another 800,000 in Ghana. Harvesting cocoa plants is labour-intensive and done entirely by hand. And by the way, what's inside them?
Aren't there some in South America as well?
May not be.
Maybe he might address that as well. But it seems like the majority of the production of cocoa comes from fucking West Africa, Ghana and Ivory Coast. Which I honestly never knew that. I knew there was like some cocoa production there. I didn't realize it was like specifically there and that fucking much. I honestly thought a majority of it came from like South America, to be fucking frank with you. So I just got some assumptions shattered right there, to be honest.
In your mind.
Ivan's Kanubi cracks open the pods to extract the sweet, slimy bean, which at this stage has a flavor like lychee fruit. Once the cocoa is collected, it's left to ferment under banana leaves for about 7 days.
Yeah, that slimy bean soup is cocoa.
Yeah, this is the original cocoa that what it looks like. And honestly, this stuff right here is really good. Like, having that shit raw, it's very good from what I understand.
Starts out as gluey white insect larva that comes out of a big tree egg. And it's only after a long process that fermenting forest jizz becomes something more appetizing, or, in the case of a Mounds bar, even less appetizing. From the farm, the cocoa then passes through a number of hands on its way to the chocolate companies, from the people who collect the beans to the warehouses who store them, each of whom gets paid for their part in the chain. But at a certain point, they all feed into one narrow bottleneck, as this expert explains in an almost unnervingly soothing way.
In a way, the story of chocolate is a little bit like an hourglass, where you have millions of smallholders growing cocoa at the very beginning of the story, and at the end of the story, you have millions of consumers eating chocolate. But right at the center of the hourglass are a handful of extremely powerful companies. These companies are the cocoa traders.
That does not sound ominous or bad at all. So you have, like, this massive, extensive labor force that harvests all the cocoa, and it narrows down in this hourglass to the biggest, powerful fucking companies that own all of it, and then basically bring it to the mass of the consumers. Which the people that are working to harvest all that shit are not a part of because they can't afford it because they're being paid starvation wages and slave wages. That makes sense. Yeah, because that sounds awesome and great. Oh boy, this kind of goes into like what I was talking about earlier at the beginning, like when it comes to like the more bigger root of the problems and shit, because like despite the issues that, you know, here in the US or just in the Western world, like, you know, or in the modern world really, you know, has in the developed world has to deal with and shit. Dude, the developing / underdeveloped world and the global south, like, it's fucking insane. It's like, I mean, it's basically like 1,000-fold more worse than the worst case scenario for a lot of people here in like the US, for example. I mean, and that fucking is saying something, because shit's fucked and bad. Like here in the US especially. Let alone, like, you know, places where they actually have social safety nets. In the U.S., we have, like, a broken, like, abandoned, tattered spider web for a fucking safety net that doesn't even really help you. And it's like, you know, in these places, like, they got fucking nothing. Fuck all. And it's like, holy shit, dude. It gets wild. It gets kind of wild, like how some parts of the world are just in so crazy worse.
That was a very good description of how the industry works from what I can only assume is a 9-hour YouTube video entitled Woman Explains Cocoa Sector Inequality ASMR. Fall asleep now, high quality headphones on. But it is true. The industry is dominated by just a handful of cocoa trading companies, the most powerful of which are the so-called Big Three: Cargill, Barry Callebaut, and OFI, which together buy and process about 60% of the world's cocoa. They then sell to a handful of major chocolate companies: Mars, Mondelez, which owns Cadbury, Ferrero, Nestle, and...
Ooh. I know pretty much all of them. Outside of Ferrero. I don't know that one. No Hershey, Mars, Mondelez, and Nestle. In fact, actually, I learned a factoid about Mars, like with M&M's, like that Frank Mars, his son, they did not get along with each other. Forrest Mars and Frank Mars did not like each other. So Forrest Mars, with the son of the president of Hershey's in England, funny enough, they started their own thing with M&M's, and when Forrest Mars died, a Mars company bought M&M's, you know, even though, funny enough, like the sons of the prodigies of Mars and Hershey started their own thing with M&M's because they wanted to make like a, you know, chocolate British Smartie and basically kind of make it more of an international thing, essentially, or whatever the fuck. Because Smarties in England, I guess, were like little chocolate, little round thing. Basically an M&M, I guess, apparently. So, back in the day, like, that's actually kind of, you know, a little random factoid that I think this morning we were looking at. So, it's like, you know, that's kind of a random little factoid about Mars and Hershey that I never knew about up until very recently. And Nestle, there is, I think, just, like, honestly, like, a long history about Nestle that we don't even need to start on because it's, like, they are fucked beyond recognition. Like, they literally will, like, take water reservoirs, you know, that, like, you know, counties and, you know, towns, like, basically rely on, and, like, will privatize it and essentially, like, sell these places up the river, you know, like, for this shit. Like, I mean, Nestle is, like, fucking notoriously bad. Like, well, pretty much, honestly, every company here is notoriously bad, but, like, at least, you know, from what I understand, Nestle is probably the fucking worst here. I mean, maybe Hershey is, like, a very close competitor, to be frank, but Nestle is just fucking bad. And a part of that's because they're owned by Coca-Cola as well. You know, they're technically, you know, not their own independent thing. They're owned by owned by Coca-Cola, and that broader, you know, corporate tentacle amalgamation of just vice and sin. So it's like, I mean, frankly, every company here is owned by a bigger company. in some way, shape, or form. Like, and if, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are owned by the same ones. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Nestle and Hershey are owned by the same fucking company. Like, I mean, I honestly, I'm willing to fucking bet. I'm honestly dead ass willing to bet that they probably are. And the other ones, probably not. But for those two, you know what? I'm willing to bet they probably are. Because I know that Coca-Cola and Hershey's like to do a lot of, like, collaboration, like, advertisements, stuff like that. Usually a lot of ads, like, if you go to movie theaters, usually Hershey's, Coca-Cola are pretty adjacent with each other a lot. So, you know what? Now thinking about it, yeah, probably. Or at least, well, maybe, well, I don't know. I've seen a lot of M&M's based commercials with Coca-Cola as well. So, I mean, it's, oh my God. You know what? Maybe Mars, Hershey, and Nestle are all owned by, you know, some bigger conglomeration or some shit. I don't know. But, like, either way, it all comes down to, like, you know, bigger, like, you know, huger companies that, you know, own, you know, these as basically subsidiaries. Good thing their names are not Quentin or Quebec. Otherwise, we get Q's instead of M's. Q and Q's. I mean, will we notice the difference if that was how it was? I mean, if it was literally like Quentin, Quebec or some shit, and it was just Q and Q's, I think we'll just literally see them as Q and Q's. Like, I guess we wouldn't really notice the difference.
Together.
But I guess that would be a different timeline now, would it?
Sell over half the world's chocolate. And when you have so many farmers and so few buyers, the buyers clearly have a big advantage. That is why only about 6% of the value of a chocolate bar makes its way back to the farmer. And look, I'm not saying that those companies...
Which, that should probably be a lot bigger. Like, I don't know, that 6.6 should probably be, I don't know, like, 46.6%. Like, these are the people that fucking, like, harvest this shit in the first place to make chocolate for what the fuck it is. Like, I mean, if there's anyone who deserves first dibs, like I said from earlier, these are the fucking people that deserve it. It's the fucking farmers. The people that initially, you know, fucking get that shit, you know, to be made into chocolate. So, like, I mean, because, like, you know, so many of them have never even tasted what fucking chocolate's like, and they're the ones who make it in the first place, basically, by making sure that it's, like, harvested and, you know, processed in the way that it needs to be to make it that way. Like, what the fuck? I mean, like, they deserve that shit. I mean, it's like, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, when it comes to, like, any, like, food-based, like, workplace, like, you know, if you put out something that, you know, you can obviously eat, then, yeah, like, the employee can certainly have at least some element of some dibs on that shit. They deserve at least, like, you know, some, you know, return from that a little bit. Like, at my workplace, for example, like, if I'm making, like, you know, I don't know, like, you know, some chicken tenders or, like, you know, chicken nuggets or, you know, some pizza sticks or whatever the fuck, like, maybe you know, I'll probably take one or two, you know, for lunch or something like that. Like, or I'll take, you know, a couple tenders or, you know, like 15 nuggets or some shit like that, you know, for some lunch and stuff. And it's not like, oh, well, meh. You know, it's like, you know, it's not like some, like, fucking thing where I'm just, like, you know, skirting the line or trying to steal or some shit. Like, I pay for it, but, like, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, we deserve to at least have a little bit of what we fucking make and what we produce, you know. If you're a worker, wherever the fuck you are on that, you know, fucking chain, you deserve at least a little bit of something, you know, when it comes to, like, you know, what you make, at least when it comes to, like, the food industry aspect of things. Whether that's a farmer, a processor, you know, like the deli clerk, restaurant worker, whatever the fuck, like, anywhere in that line, like, I mean, you deserve to have some dibs on that shit. Like, I mean, I think that should be, like, a part of, like, you know, like the contract, so to speak, when it comes to working at a place. Like, hey, if you want, like, you know, a certain amount of value of, like, you know, the food or the things that you produce or stuff, or like a free meal or something like that for lunch or some shit, if you're working at a restaurant or whatever, like, that should absolutely be totally acceptable. Because, like, in a way, I mean, isn't that also, like, sampling your product to make sure that it's also good, to make sure it's given to customers too? Because if you're making something for at least for example's sake, like at a restaurant, and you make some food and you realize, oh shit, I'm not feeling good and I got some food poisoning, then it's like, well, there's something in your product line that ain't really good, and you should probably make sure that you find out what that is into the root of what it is and make sure that that ain't out. You know, it's like, if anything, that actually can be kind of a benefit. So it's one of those things where it's like, I mean, there actually could be honestly some good reason, you know, for the employees to at least have some dibs on some shit. Because, like, I mean, if they're the ones working at the workplace and working on the, you know, on the grounds, whether it's at the farm or at the restaurant or anywhere else in between, like, they're gonna know the most about, like, how the product is. And if it ain't adequate, then they're probably gonna be the ones who know the most. And they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be aware of it first. So, I mean, it's like, so much about, like, how, like, the company structure is just, like, looks at, like, especially the most rank and file type of fucking place. It's like, oh, they're gonna steal stuff, or oh, this and that. Like, they basically, almost, like, condescend and demonize you, for working there because, oh, if you ever do this and this and this, then you're basically like the devil. It's like, what the fuck? I mean, because, like, especially when it comes to my workplace, they do that when it comes to, like, the whole idea of, like, free food, so to speak, but it's like, why? Like, I mean, shouldn't we be, at the very minimal, sample products to that we sell to people to make sure that they're at least, not bad and stuff like that? Like, because if not, then that could be detrimental to the people that we're selling product to. I mean, it's like, I find it so, especially from my workplace, I find it so silly that, they actually do kind of crack down on this idea that, like, we can't have free stuff and shit or whatever the fuck. And that's, like, how they describe it. It's like, oh, you're technically still from the company if you do that, blah, blah, blah. It's like, why not, flip that logic around a little bit? Say, like, hey, maybe we're sampling some of the products to make sure that they're good for people to have because we want to make sure that, we're not selling something that's going to make someone sick or some shit. Because if not, then, like, that could be bad for, the customer and also, for the company too, so to speak. So wouldn't it actually be a good thing for us to maybe sample, like, a chicken tender or, like, a slice of meat, or something like that, or whatever the fuck, or, like, maybe, like, a cut of cheese or something, or maybe, like, a salad or whatever, just, like, a tiny little thing. Like, that shouldn't be a big deal. Like, I mean, there should at least be, like, kind of a given for something like that, at least in my opinion. Like, I mean, because it makes sense. Like, especially if you got, the people that are working on the ground, so to speak, always and all the time, and they're the ones handling this product all the fucking time, they're going to be the ones who are going to know if something's off. And if they sample something and realize something's off, then they could pull that shit and be like, hey, this isn't sellable right now. And then, act accordingly more immediately and directly. But corporate ain't going to fucking, figure that shit out. They just want to fucking sell a thing. So they're not going to give a fuck about shit like that. They just want to make their fucking bucks so they get a bonus at the end of their fucking quarter or whatever the fuck. They don't give a shit. But, like, the actual worker on the ground, though, they kind of give a fuck a little bit. Because I give a fuck. Like, if I, because I eat some of the food that I sell to people, too. Like, and I don't want to be selling inadequate, shit that ain't good. So there's a reason why I might, snack on some stuff that, I might make, that's fresh and stuff like that. And maybe not pay for it. Oh, no. Because I'm sampling it. I'm making sure that it's good for people. And if there's something off about it, it's like, oh, maybe we should, cook that for a little more. Or, like, hey, put that back in the, fucking, like in, our oven, because it needs to, be cooked a little longer. Or whatever the fuck. And sometimes, shit needs that. Because, hey, like, sometimes, like, some food just might not totally be ready yet. And you make sure it's cooked longer. And sometimes, the only way to truly know that shit is not just temping it, but also maybe sampling some of it. And you know what? Maybe that one thing that you sample, you obviously can't sell. But, hey, at least you can realize that maybe that, what you just put out as a batch, don't put it all the way out, put it back in the oven or put it back in the fryer or something like that and make sure that it's cooked all the way. Because you realize, oh shit, I could probably get sick, I don't want to do that, so I'm going to make sure the rest of this is, put back in the fryer or whatever the fuck. It's common sense shit, basically. I mean, it's like, that should be granted for especially a food industry or like any food-related workplace, whether it's like a grocery store or a bar or anywhere. Like, I mean, to me, that seems like kind of a duh. And a lot of coworkers that I have that used to work at, like, bars or restaurants, that's kind of like a granted given. Like, you can have a free meal for lunch or shit like that, or, like, sample the product and make sure that it's okay. But for some reason, like, grocery stores, especially at least, for mine, that's, like, a no-no. And it's like, why? Like, I mean, everywhere else that's food-related, can let that be a thing. and it's not a bad thing. But yet, I don't know, you know, it's like we're technically still for the capital. It's like, I'm pretty sure they're not gonna notice like $2, you know, or some shit worth of chicken tenders or whatever the fuck, you know, because like, you know, some of us decide to snack on like 2 or 3 tenders. I don't think that's gonna matter. Like, that's just basically the, you know, equivalent of like, you know, accounting for shrink, you know, at the end of like every quarterly or whatever the hell. It don't mean shit. But it's just basically a way to intimidate, you know, like workers as in a sense to be obedient and, you know, just like make sure they follow things to the T, even though like most of the rules there are essentially kind of like, you know, like high school rules, or it's like they're there, but they're kind of like almost like meant to be broken, just in a sense that, you know, because the genuine serious rules, you know, it makes you avoid those ones while you can like skirt like maybe a dress code one, or like, you know, or like, you know, a rule about like breaks as long as you don't go too extended with your breaks or whatever, and shit like that. Or like the sample thing. You know, it's like, I mean, some rules, you know, that, you know, some places will have, you know, are just almost kind of there as a way to kind of like, you know, let some more rebellious people kind of break those instead, I guess. But, I mean, at least when it comes to, the, you know, the workplace side of things, when it comes to, like, the food thing like I'm talking about here, it doesn't make sense. It's stupid. Like, I mean, if anything, it's just, like, literally, you know, it could be excused as quality control. Because I think that's what it is. Like, hey, if we're not, you know, like, if we're sampling stuff and it's not, like, to the quality that, you know, if I won't eat it, then why would I sell that to other people? You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it could all be kind of tied down to quality control. Like, if I don't want to eat this thing and I'm about to put this out for people, then why should I put that out there? Maybe I should cook it a little longer, make sure that, you know, it's edible. Duh. I mean, to me, that makes sense. You know, and to bring it back in full circle, and that, you know, it's like, it goes regardless of wherever that chain is. Like, if a farmer's harvesting, like, you know, some chocolate or some corn or whatever the fuck, they deserve to see what the end product result of that is, like, or at least maybe have a little bit themselves, you know, when they harvest it and shit. I think that's totally fair. Like, they're the ones who are doing most of the fucking brute labor work anyway. Like, they deserve at least to have a little, you know, a little bonus, so to speak, and a little extra, you know, when it comes to, like, having their own. Like, deserve that shit. Because, like, I mean, at the end of the day, they're the ones who are, like, actually producing the fruits of the fucking labor. It's not the fucking bosses or these companies, whether it's Mars or Nestle, Hershey, or any of these fucking other ones here.
Real value to their part of the process, they are. This Halloween, try offering a Spider-Man a Kit Kat or a handful of sticky white bean lava and see which they prefer. But there are clearly massive disparities in who reaps the benefits of this extremely profitable industry. And I will say, there are mechanisms in place to at least help stabilise the amount that farmers earn. Both Ghana and Ivory Coast set minimum prices the farmers receive for their cocoa. The problem is, those prices are not only difficult to enforce, but crucially, they're often not enough to cover the costs of farming. And so some farmers, most of whom, remember, are experiencing extreme poverty, have resorted to trying to increase their earnings by growing more cocoa on land that is protected by the government, which is illegal because it can do significant environmental damage.
Desperate. No shit. It sounds like those laws were basically built as like a milquetoast like half measure. Be like, oh, well, look, we'll have like, you know, cap and some protections here and there, blah, 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 but it's not going to be like adequate by any measure. It's literally like, you know, some liberal half-measure bullshit, like centrist, moderate, like, status quo enabling type of bill, basically. Since, like, you know, for what these countries established. Which, honestly, I bet that's because, you know, these companies in question that, you know, are about this whole topic are probably strong lobbyists and have a lot of power and a pretty strong grip in these countries, probably. I guarantee you that's probably why.
Supplement their crop by growing cocoa trees in a protected forest, where the uncultivated soil is more fertile, and stolen land is, in effect, free of charge. What's left behind is known as a skeleton forest.
Okay, let's face it, it was only a matter of time before the phrase skeleton forest appeared on this show, because there is a sinister combination of words out there.
That sounds disturbing. A skeleton forest? Like, a forest of, like, what, dead trees and just, like, oh my god. That sounds disturbing.
Stumble over it.
That sounds like some literal Halloween horror movie shit.
Tumor elections, ghost abuse, murder pollution. Stay tuned, all those are coming up. But it's not just environmental damage. There is also significant human cost in cocoa farming, which has been well known for a while. Around 20 years ago, a series of news stories and a documentary found that young children, some of whom had been enslaved or trafficked, were working on cocoa farms that supplied...
Wow, like I was mentioning earlier, and like literally predicting that this would be a topic in this video. Wow, no shit, huh? Like child slavery and stuff like that. Yeah, go figure. Because, yeah, at this point, it's like an open secret.
Major chocolate companies. And in the wake of public horror over this, companies didn't do themselves any favours with how they responded. Just listen to the answer that this Dutch journalist got when he asked Nestle about whether children were involved in making its chocolate.
Children are working in virtually every single agricultural setup around the world.
What? So this guy admits it? He don't give a fuck? Dude, what? Dude. That guy literally just like, oh yeah, well children are used in like every agricultural sector, so fuck it. Like, what the, okay, well that's a thing.
Okay, as a matter of fact, when I was 11 or 12 years old, I went to help a farmer. I did not...
Are you fucking kidding me? This guy is doing the, like, literal, like, survivalist boomer bias of, like, well, I grew up when I was, like, 12 years old. I was, like, working around, during the summertime outside school and shit. It's like, this fuck is literally making that argument. Oh, my God. Well, I guess they have guillotines for a reason. Just gonna, just... make that random thought out there, just for food for thought.
Because I thought it was fun. There was child labor. A child working.
And that's the same.
It's not the same. It's evidently. I didn't need to do that. Okay?
Yeah. Right. Not to stress them.
Yeah, I didn't need to basically be indentured servitude and just, like, not get paid for being a farmer and stuff and basically be a child slave laborer or whatever, but you know what? I did. So, it's not the same, but, those stupid little bastards can handle it too, so fuck them.
Obvious point in the universe, but doing something for fun isn't the same thing as doing it to survive. It's the difference between being in an escape room and being in a Saw movie. Sure, they're both equally bad first date ideas, but that is where the similarities end. And look, I'll give him this. A lot of child labour does consist of kids working on their own family's cocoa farms, though even in those cases, they can be doing so in hazardous conditions. And also, watch as that Nestle spokesperson accidentally walks into a pretty damning admission of exactly why they might have been having to do that in the first.
Oh, wait, like, so the initial thing that he just said wasn't a damning admission?
For a poor farmer in Africa, often the help that he gets from his children is vital in order to maintain the standard of living of the family.
So the children who are like barely teenagers are the ones who are basically providing for the fucking family, dude? Bro. That's like if you took me 10 years in the past and I had to do what I'm doing now. Like, considering, like, what? The fuck? I'm, being, like, the youngest in my family for the most part, outside of maybe, like, some cousins and shit here and there, like... I'm, for the most part, the main breadwinner of the house at this point. Outside of, like, some disability my mom gets and shit. Beyond that, it's like, I'm kind of the main breadwinner. So it's like, it's basically, taking someone like me, who's already the young buck, so to speak, and basically the kid of the whole family, all in all. Also the major black sheep, too. But, like, either way, it's like, I mean, like, it's basically taking just me, but just like, instead of 26, I'm 16. Or like 14 or something. And doing what I'm doing now for like, maybe not 8 years, but like 5 or something. And doing it since I was like 10. It's like, what? Like, I would basically just rather die at that point. Like, that would be insane. I couldn't even fucking fathom that, at that age. Like, cause I was barely fucking, you know, like, fathoming school for the most part, and it's just like, oh man, have to do that shit? Hell no. Like, I wouldn't be able to maintain anything at that point, you know, when it comes to that shit. So it's like, I mean, to think that like, these kids have to, like, you know, in Africa, and this person is just, like, being like, nah, whatever. Just, like, dismissing it as, like, what the fuck ever type of shit. Like, I mean, holy fuck. It's psychotic. Like, I mean, just the utter fucking detachment that this fucker has, you know, in that type of shit is just insane to me. I mean, it just really is. Like, that is fucking psychotic.
Because they are so desperately poor.
Because they don't get paid enough by Nestle or by the companies they work for.
That's it. Thank you very much.
Wow.
That's it. Thank you very much. It's like, yeah, we basically let these children be slaves, but you know what? You know, yeah, like, you know, it's not because they don't get paid or anything. You're gonna tell, no, bye. It's like, wow, what a Yeah, I was gonna mention, you know, again, you know, guillotines were invented for a reason. You know, I'm not gonna explain why, but, you know, yeah, I'm sure you can figure out everything else for yourself.
It is very funny to me that he thought ending that call when he did was somehow avoiding implicating himself. Look, the farmers have to make their children work for them because they are so poor, because they're not paid a living wage by Nestle, the company that you know what? Nice try, you're breaking up. I'm going through a tunnel. Goodbye. That was a close one. I think I got away with it. It's not just kids working on their family farms. Children have been known to be forced or trafficked to work in cocoa production. While, because of the nature of this crime, exact numbers aren't known. One survey estimated that in Ivory Coast, over a 4-year period, 2,000 children were victims of forced labour, while in Ghana, it was 14,000. And back in the 2000s, outrage over this actually spurred US lawmakers to take action. First, they considered mandating labels for chocolate indicating whether or not it was made with child slave labour. But
oh yeah, like, that's gonna make a fucking difference. Oh, what, you think, you know, like, Joe Schmo, like, in fucking Wyoming or goddamn Illinois is gonna give a fuck about that? I mean, I'm sorry, but, like, maybe someone like me might be like, oh, child labor is actually labeled on it. You know, fuck that. You know, here, I'll go for maybe some of the more expensive stuff, I guess. Yeah, locally made in Oregon. Okay, you know, whatever. No, I'll go for that at that point. Me. But, like, you think most motherfuckers are gonna give a shit about that? Like, I'm pretty sure, like, M&M's, yum. And they're gonna avoid the child labor fucking label that's on the corner. They're not gonna give a fuck. Like, I mean, like, what, you think that's gonna do anything? That might make, like, the most negligible dent. Because, like, 0.5% of, like, the consumer populace, you know, again, people like me might avoid it. But beyond that, that ain't gonna happen, Chief.
Industry then lobbied that down to a voluntary agreement to eliminate the worst forms of child labour, promising to get it done by July 2005.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that changed a lot since then.
It later became known as the Harkin-Engel Protocol, after the two lawmakers who had pushed for it. But when the deadline rolled around, Senator Harkin had this unfortunate update.
Though I was disappointed that the July 1st deadline was not fully met by the industry, they have given us a commitment to achieving a certification system which can be expanded across the cocoa growing areas of West Africa, and which will cover 50% of the cocoa growing areas of Ivory Coast and Ghana in 3 years' time.
Golf clap. Oh, wow. Thank you, your graciousness. The cocoa companies of Nestle, Mars, and etc. Oh, yeah, your graciousness. Oh, the commitment. Golf clap. Golf clap, everybody. In fact, hats off, even. Hats off and just... Their graciousness by 08. Oh wait, that happened a long time ago. Oh shit, have they not, you know, continue their commit? Such tragedy.
I'm very pleased with this commitment.
Oh, I'm sure you were, you little
your
fuck.
Capacity for trusting others. I see from the first panel of today's Peanuts comic that Lucy is finally going to let Charlie Brown kick the football. While I was disappointed by her actions in the past, it seems that a new day has brought a sense of integrity within this young girl, and I'm very excited to move my gaze down the page and see this commitment honoured in... Wow, she did it again! And predictably, the companies didn't meet that new deadline either. Once 2008 rolled around, they kicked it to 2010, then pushed it again to 2020, while simultaneously downgrading their goal to just getting a 70%...
So they're like, oh, hey, we didn't meet the 2008 deadline. We'll go to 2010. Oh, we didn't meet that? Fuck it. 2020, baby. We'll give us another decade, even. And what do you know? They haven't changed. Go figure. Wow, shocker.
In child labour rather than eliminating it entirely. Then they missed that deadline too. And the companies almost certainly knew that they wouldn't keep their promises here. As the former head of the International Cocoa Initiative put it, was there any chance of child labour being eradicated by the original 2005 deadline? No, never. And at that point, why bother setting a date at all? If your friend agrees to meet you for dinner at 7, then pushes it to 7:30, then 8, and then finally says, be there in 20, years not minutes, it kind of feels like they never had any intention of getting dinner in the first place. And I will say, it is not like the chocolate companies have done nothing. They all started flashy-looking programmes with cocoa in their names that promised to be vigilant about monitoring for child labour, and they produced impressive-looking ads featuring happy farmers and websites showing how carefully they monitor their supply chain. But the reality hasn't remotely lived up to the rhetoric. Just last year, some journalists looked at a map of farms on Mondelez's Cocoa Life website, and then sent a camera crew to Ghana to check some out, and you'll never guess what they found.
It didn't take long to find children working on a farm, matching the coordinates listed on the Cocoa Life website. The team filmed 2
wow, shocker.
young boys aged 10 and 11 harvesting cocoa pods using long sticks with sharp hooks and wearing no protective clothing.
It's true,
they're literally wearing shorts and tank top. That's not even a tank top. That's like... Is that like some weird, like, ragged apron that he probably just, like, made himself because he can't... Oh, my God. Oh, yeah, you know, just, nothing inhumane or, like, horrible or bad going on here at all. Like, this kid, instead of, like, playing, like, kickball or some shit with his friends, with the boys, out in the street or some shit, in his local town or some shit. Nah, he's doing this instead. It's gonna make, some good old, like, hard, rugged work experience, brother. That kid's gonna learn some good skills, I tell you what, or some shit. It's like, he just pulled himself by the bootstraps. He don't need to be playing kickball in the street, the fucking delinquent.
One of the farms listed on their site, a site filled with claims that child labour is completely unacceptable, and instantly found child labour. I don't know what statement Mondelez can release in the wake of that, other than maybe honestly did not think anyone would actually check. And you think, well, obviously we can't trust companies to monitor themselves. That's why there should be a third party involved. The thing is, though...
I mean, I would even, like, argue there should be, like, some sort of, like, international, like, court, or, like, institution in that way that, like, fucking overlooks this shit. Like, I mean, there shouldn't be, like, any tolerance for this, like, whatsoever. At least, when it comes to, like, to the supposed developed world. Because, like, the developed world is, like, so gung-ho about looking, well, developed. I imagine literal child labor and slave labor is, like, and human trafficking and child trafficking. I imagine that does not necessarily equate to developed, in my opinion. Like, if we're going to use that argument. But, like, I mean, it shouldn't be allowed even in developing or undeveloped worlds because, like, again, there's the whole exploitation of the whole shebang. But, like, either way, it's like, it shouldn't be happening, period. Fuck it all. Like, no. Boo. I don't give a fuck who's doing it. Fuck that shit. It's lame. It's cringe. Fuck you. How dare you? Like, so, boo. I mean, especially when it comes from the fucking companies and stuff, because, like, they know motherfucking well that what they're fucking doing, and it's only so they can maximize their fucking wealth and profit. That's literally it. That's all they give a fuck about, and that's the reason why they do this shit. They couldn't give a fuck about, like, the outcomes of the consequences of what happens with their actions. They don't care.
Also existed for years. Chocolate companies have long purchased at least some of their beans from third-party organisations like these, who certify the farmers who supply them have met certain child labour and environmental standards. You might have seen one of these logos on a chocolate bar and felt reassured by it. But while advocates say that some of these organisations have improved conditions somewhat, these logos just aren't the guarantee that you might want them to be. For For a start, while the organisations pay farmers a small premium for meeting their standards, those premiums might not even cover the cost of complying with the programme. But also, typically, inspections for the labels are required of fewer than 1 in 10 farms annually. And just watch what happened when reporters went undercover as chocolate company executives and visited a contractor who did audits for Oots, one of those third-party organisations, because he explains to them exactly why he is so confident that he won't find child labour on any farm that he visits.
The audit is announced in advance. You go and visit producers who know that you're coming. When you go to them, you are not going to see any children.
That is true. Auditors give advance notice of inspections, which is clearly ridiculous, because that's never...
Yeah, that shouldn't be a thing. Like, I mean, they should just be kind of, like, for the most part, unannounced, you know, or, like, the day of, at least when it comes to shit like this, where it's like, oh, hey, we're gonna, you know, do inspection, and we're gonna be there in, like, an hour. It's like, or, I mean, even then, that's being way too gracious. Like, it should be like, oh, hey, we're here, by the way. You're doing inspection. Yeah, what's up? Step aside, bitch. Hey, what's going on over here? You know, it's like, that's how it should be. Like, it should basically almost be like an ambush inspection. It's like, I mean, for a workplace like mine, I can understand, you know, being like, hey, a heads up, you know, in a week's time, we're going to have a, you know, walkthrough and stuff. Like, for my workplace, it makes sense. For this shit, it should be like an ambush. It should be like, hey, what's up? Yeah, we're doing an inspection. Yeah, step aside, motherfucker. It's like, it should be like an immediate, like, oh, yeah, we're here, by the way. What's up? You know, it should just be a fucking flex, like, right out of the bat. Like, they shouldn't even get an announcement. It shouldn't even, they don't get no warning until, like, they show right the fuck up on the fucking farm. That's how it should be. Like, immediately.
To be reliable. If you tell your teenager, I'm checking your backpack for cigarettes next Tuesday, great news, you're not going to find any. Now, I have to tell you, Oots has maintained that it holds auditors to the highest standards, although you have just seen those standards.
Yeah, no, they don't. Their standards mean dick.
But they didn't seem that high to me. As for Mondelez, who, remember, turned out to have child labour at one of its suppliers in Ghana, it said that it was deeply concerned by these incidents, and okay, that makes 2 of us, Mondelez. It also wants you to know that it has a child labour monitoring system in place to prevent this kind of thing from happening, which is...
Or at least, you know, maybe monitoring it so it doesn't hit a certain threshold, so it looks like a problem. Because if it has a, like, certain percentile to it, then they could be like, oh, well, they just, you know, slipped through the cracks. We didn't know about that. It's like, you know, if it goes over a certain, you know, threshold, then it's like, yeah, they're kind of complicit. But if it's, like, under a certain percentage, or at least, you know, what they can try to claim, then it doesn't make it look like they're as accountable, because it's like, oh, they just slipped through the cracks. Not our fault.
Assuring until you remember it only took a documentary crew 1 flight to Ghana to prove that that system is at best deeply inadequate. And that is the thing. All these companies will say that they are concerned about child labour and that they've spent a lot of money trying to fix it. By one estimate, as of 2019, they'd spent more than $150 million to address this issue. But that's over 18 years, and while they were collecting $103 billion in sales annually, meaning that over 2 decades, they've spent just 0.1% of 1 year's sales. And come on, M&M's must have spent more than that, fine-tuning exactly how fuckable the green M&M is.
Yeah, because especially Tucker Carlson really wants to ensure that, you know, that green M&M is fuckable as fuck, dude.
And for all the company's claims of concern, the fact remains, according to the US Department of Labour, an estimated 1.5 million children work in cocoa production in Ghana and Ivory Coast, many of whom are engaged in dangerous tasks. Or as the Washington Post investigation concluded, the odds are substantial that a chocolate bar bought in the United States is the product of child labour. In fact, the persistence of it in the supply chain is an open secret. Just watch as some young workers end up joking about it when asked by visiting journalists.
Non, il n'y a pas offense. D'accord. Non, il n'y a pas offense. Et puis on a au moins 22 ans, 25 ans. Le jeune homme qui fait sa voix de gauche, t'as le... 25 comme ça. 25 ans 25. Il sourit. 21. Il sourit.
He's 21. Well, he's still technically an adult, I guess.
Tu as quel âge là? Tu vas faire moi.
Wait, wait, so they're lying. They're like, no, just tell them you're 21, whatever, fuck it. Like, what?
Oh, yeah. We all fondly remember being 21, small frame, childlike voice. Another guy has to constantly remind you that you're 21. Just classic early 20s stuff. And
oh, yeah, I remember when I was 21, where I had my friends remind me I was 21, and I had to, like, be like, oh, yeah, I'm 21, guys. Yeah, wink. Like, yeah, I remember those days.
But laughing there, and that clip was honestly kind of charming. But the truth is, for others, the stories are pretty harrowing. Like this young girl who said that at this point, she'd already...
I mean, you know, honestly, I guess it's like kind of their form of humor, I suppose, to kind of like deal with the fucked up situation that they're in. But, I mean, man, isn't it kind of fucking telling?
Cocoa for 5 years.
I was brought here by my aunt. I was told I would be helping with the baby, but instead I only do farming.
She says she wants to go to school, but her uncle can't afford to send her.
My uncle says he struggles to pay for his own children, so if I join them, he will not be able to buy the school books.
We asked if she misses her family.
Yes.
Do you hear from them?
No.
Have you ever been back to visit them since you came here?
No.
So she fucking got trafficked, dude, by her aunt, no less. Dude. Holy shit, bro. Like, I mean, it really kind of shows how fucked, like, you know, there's, you know, the system is there, like, and how it's so gutted, privatized, and just exploited, you know, just so just a shitload of, like, a handful of companies can make a fucking buck off of them. Because the thing is, like, these countries, Ghana and the Ivory Coast, like, they are not, like, the, you know, like, these chocolate companies, for example, like, they're not the only ones that, you know, have, like, exploited the shit out of these countries. Like, there's like a other country, or other companies that have, like, utterly have, like, you know, robbed, you know, like, these people of, like, you know, any form of ability to have development in their fucking nation, like, whatsoever. Like, I mean, they're, like, because this is the result of what that, you know, ends up, you know, becoming. Like, it's not just like a company town, it's like a company country at this point, owned by a few fucking, you know, companies.
That is heartbreaking. And the truth is, there are a lot more clips out there like that one than there are of kids joking around about being 21. And at this point, you might be wondering, well, what can we do differently? And I will admit, it's really complicated. Child labour in these regions is caused by a myriad of issues, from poor infrastructure to limited access to education. But to a significant extent, it is caused by poverty. A poverty that is actively perpetuated by these chocolate companies. And if they really want to remedy things, a good first step...
I mean, it's not just them, but they definitely play a major fucking role.
...would simply be to pay farmers more. And companies might balk at that, saying that they don't set the price, the market does. But as this advocate points out, that's a pretty lousy excuse.
Every trader and every multinational I speak to always say, oh, but that's the world market price. We have no influence on that at all. But you buy a quarter of the world's cocoa beans. How can you not influence the price?
Exactly. And look, I am no economist, despite winning Most Likely to Be an Economist based on appearance back in preschool. But if you buy that much of the global supply of something, you definitely have some sway over how much it costs. And the thing is, there are models here that companies could look to. Remember that Dutch journalist making the guy from Nestle squirm? As a result of that segment, he actually created his own chocolate company, Tony's Chocolonely. It works hard to ensure that its supply chain is free from child or slave labour, and importantly, ensures that the people who grow its cocoa aren't in dire poverty. Here is its former head of sustainability explaining how it sets the price for the beans that it buys.
We calculate how big the gap is between the government set price and the living income price, and we pay that gap as an extra premium.
For the spring harvest, the premium was about $63 higher than what's set by the government, meaning Tony's paid almost double for each bag of beans.
Hey! That's great. And it says something that Tony's was somehow able to pay farmers double the going rate, despite being a mid-sized Dutch cocoa company whose logo, by the way, looks like a casual dining restaurant operated by and for clowns.
Honestly, this looks more like a stereotypical, like, you know, fucking weird-ass, like, you know, New York sandwich diner or some shit. Tony's Chocolonely sandwich bar, I tell you what. Oh, you know, it's like, I mean, it does look a little goofy. I've never heard of it before, but I wonder if they ship, you know, like if you can buy stuff online and have it shipped to your door. Because, you know what, I'll try this chocolate out. You know, if they're doing it, you know, far more ethically and stuff like that, then, yeah, I'll try it out. Honestly, like, you know, some chocolate that, you know, people should try is some Icelandic chocolate. Because I mean, it's fucking good, dude. Like, and also it's, you know, as far as I know, is also as ethically sourced as well, too. So it's not, like, child labor, slave labor chocolate either. But, like, at least, you know, some of the chocolates I've tried, they're a little bit more, like, savory or, like, you know, salty in a sense, but it's because they use like different like lava salts and different things like that. It's like kind of like a unique kind of like chocolate. They have like different like sea salts they'll use and shit. It's honestly it's really good. Like, I mean, some Icelandic chocolate is some good ass chocolate. I'm gonna put that right out there. It's some good shit, and you know, it's very like rich and. It's good. It's really good. I mean, honestly, like, you can buy it online, and I've been honestly kind of been meaning to buy some here at some point here pretty soon, because I've been kind of thinking about it for a while, and it's like, god damn, I want some of that shit. Damn, I want some of that Icelandic chocolate, because it's good shit. So you know what? You know, next time I order some of that, I think I might order some Tony's Chocolonis. You know, because hey, I'm intrigued. It sounds good, so I'm gonna try it out. Thank you, John Oliver, for giving me a recommendation there, good buddy. I'll tell you what.
These guys can do it, there's frankly no reason why these guys can't as well. And to be fair, even Tony's...
Well, they want to make more of a profit, unlike, you know, these guys, because these fellas care. The other ones don't give a shit. They want to make a profit.
Saying
That's
we
it.
have never found an instance of modern slavery in our supply chain. However, we do not guarantee our chocolate is 100% slave-free. While we are doing everything we can to prevent slavery and child labour, we are also realistic. And I have to say, I appreciate that. Because there is a difference between recognising how much there is to do and simply not doing enough. And I know these are companies, not charities, whose job it is to make money and not save the world, but that means that they will only care about this problem exactly as much as they are forced to. So if we are serious about getting child labour out of our chocolate, we can't keep relying on pinky promises and the honour system. We need tough legislation that requires companies do the right thing. And it's not like this is the only industry where exploitation in other countries is the norm. I could just as easily have done this piece about coffee or palm oil. And we actually talked about trafficking and child labour in the US farm system this year. But experts themselves say...
Because there's literally been companies that have been caught in the U.S. in different states, you know, from like Alabama to like Iowa, different random states and shit where child labor is like these companies have been doing it. So yeah, like I don't think I've seen that specific video that he's talking about or that segment, but I mean I know about this. Like this is something that, you know, I've kind of delved in on my own time before, and I think, you know, even other, you know, like people that I've, you know, watch and react to as well, like, you know, I've talked about it. So it's something that is honestly more common than you think here in the US as well.
In few industries is the evidence of objectionable practices so clear, the industry's pledges to reform so ambitious, and the breaching of those promises so obvious. Look, we have known for 20 years what the problems are here, and we haven't bothered to fix them. But if we do, then imagine this. One day, maybe, just maybe, we can get back to a point where chocolate can once more give us the simple, uncomplicated joy of this. Exactly.
True. That's all chocolate should give us. It's just that simple joy. And the only way to do that is to make sure that the people that harvest it in the fucking first place can also experience that joy. And everyone can experience the joy. You know what? If that means we have to pay just, oh my god, that much more for chocolate, then you know what? So be it. That's the price for the luxury of the euphoria and the bliss that we give for chocolate. If everyone, you know, gets to experience it in some way, shape, or form, and we have to, you know, spend just that much more, then so be it. I'm okay with that. I accept those consequences of the euphoric outcome that we all will truly experience if we actually just give a shit. Because honestly, it's like, I mean, it's fucking wild. Like, I mean, how deep this shit can go. Like, it's not just, you know, like, I mean, honestly, what John was talking about is literally just the surface level. Like, I mean, he was even mentioning, you know, in some points in, you know, in the video where it's like, this shit goes even deeper. Like, you know, some of the clips, stuff like that, that shit's, you know, like, countless. Like, there's all sorts of stuff, not just from the Ivory Coast and Ghana. Like, even in South America and other places. Like, I mean, I saw, you know, he pulled up a little map when it comes to production. It's like, and there's definitely some in South America, but yeah, a lot of it's in Africa, and also in, like, Oceania a little bit. Like, there's, like, I think, like, Guinea, Papua New Guinea, I think it looked like, or Burma as well. Like, yeah, or Brunei, I think. You know, so there's like a few countries over there, you know, that also are major producers of shit. And I imagine it's probably just as bad, if not even fucking worse over there too. So, I mean, it's just surface layer when it comes to that shit. You know, I feel like the streams have been kind of thematic, you know, to everything. Because, you know, I was kind of talking about from earlier, from like first 30 minutes then with that video, kind of all seems like kind of wraps in a little bow of like the whole thing about like, you know, tapping into the roof, like, you know, the issues, and, you know, like, even if, you know, as small as it is, you know, to, you know, like, you know, be a, you know, like, non-conformist against that and to challenge it, because like of how deep it goes. Like, I mean, obviously, you know, there's not much, you know, someone like me can do, you know, for like the Ivory Coast or whatever, but, you know, there's things I can do here at home for sure. You know, it's at least, you know, taking the knowledge and using that as a way to, like, you know, fuel the fire, so to speak. You know, like, and that's really the point, you know, if anything. You know, it's like, you know, a segment like that, you know, to me is, like, you know, it's what fuels the fire to, like, you know, help people in my own, you know, like, a little circle. You know, it's like, you know, whether they're longtime friends, you know, in my core group of friends, or just people I just know enough to know that I, you know, trust their gumption, who they are, and know, like, they just need that extra hand. You know, it's like, and sometimes it's, you know, like I said, it's like the fires of, like, you know, what happens, you know, like, globally and shit, at least for me, you know, is something that helps fuel the need to make sure that, you know, like, at least, you know, people in my own direct, you know, element can at least, you know, stand out just a little better. Because, fuck, if not, then, you know, it's, I mean, you know, we're all gonna eventually, you know, be like, you know, suffering on that one. So it's like, I mean, shit, I don't want that. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. At least to me. What are you doing over there? You fucking goober. You've just been a little annoying little pissant. Yeah, you. Yeah, knocking shit over, assaulting things. What's up? Oh my god, you fucking goober. This dog is a goober. What a goober. I swear to God, if you start barking, you just, like, you know, perk your ears up like you're about to boof. I don't want to hear no boofing. Don't need a harness on you right here. I can't get the other side. You're gonna have to come over here for that. Oh my god, you baby. Look at you. Oh my god. You goofball. Alright. Alright, it's up. There you go. Yeah. You happy now? Oh my god, you're about to fucking knock some shit over again, are you? Look at you. You're amping up for a little assault, a slapping, and there's scritching. Goof. This dog's a goofball. Just a little goofball. Hey. Quit doing that. No, hey. Wait. Stop it. No. Wait. Would you knock it off? Boop. I'm gonna poke you. Poking you with a foot. Nope. God damn it. Ugh. I'm gonna start throwing things at you now. You want me to throw shit at you? Because you don't want that. This is gonna be random, like, bits of, like, toilet paper or something. I don't even know. Not toilet paper, napkins. It's gonna bundle this up and just, like, chuck it at him. That's what you get. That's what you're gonna get. Just gonna pinch your little ear, too. Pinch your ear and throw little toilet papers at you. Little goober. I'll give him another little treat. I'm just gonna spoil you tonight. Give him a bunch of treats. Here you go. Come here. Oh, good boy. Whoa! Hey! Hey. Okay. Alright. Hey. Up. Okay. Up. You can bite it. Go on. Okay, he somehow... Oh, Well, alright, well, the rest of it's gone. Think he's gonna try to find it now. Oh my god. I'm pretty sure that rat's gonna eat the rest of that. Yeah, you caused it to flick. It flick way over there. So I guess you get another one. I'll give you another one. Here you go. Silly little goof. Anyway, I'll get myself some food. I'll go for the rest of the little evening. Nice little timing. It's 2:22. 2:22 a.m. Seems like a little lucky number right there. So, anyway. I'll go for the rest of the evening. So, peace out. And of course, I'll see y'all that next one. So, a toodaloo, buckaroos.